Hello and welcome back to another episode of my Knitspiration series. So my name is Leah. I go as Miss LJV on Instagram and Eventual on Ravelry, and today I am here to talk to you about famous movie knits. So I'm gonna go ahead and move myself out of the way here. This is a series that is inspired by a conversation that I've had with others in the community about what we like to call famous knits. I'd like to say that famous knits covers knits as well as crochet, maybe even weaving sometimes, just knitwear in general. So it's not just things that have been knitted, but also things that are crocheted as well. This is a 3-part series. We have the Knitspiration series on famous TV knits, the Knitspiration series on famous movie knits, which is today's video, and we will also have one on famous video game knits. So let's get to it. I'm going to jump right in and start talking about Scott Pilgrim. So Scott Pilgrim is very well known in a couple of examples for its knits. So up in the right hand corner here is Scott Pilgrim's hat. It almost looks like a woolly worm hat. Looks like stockinette and garter, and it is in 2 different striping colors, and it's just like a very basic, very looking worn in hat. It even has a rolled brim. It just like the whole thing it just started in stockinette and you didn't add anything to it. There's also Knives' scarf. I actually could not find a good photo of it, but I knit a scarf that was very similar to Knives' scarf long time ago. I want to say it was like 12 years ago or so. And I was very inspired by the movie. Ramona tends to wear a lot of different knits in the film, and there are some patterns for various gloves that Ramona did wear in the movie. So there's like these worn gloves here. There was no good shots of them for me to even get what they actually looked like, but other people have created patterns inspired by what they perceived those gloves to look like, and they're pretty cool. She also wore, this is a knitted sweater. It ends up being a full-length sweater as well as having a hood. It was very cute. Again, difficult to find actually good pictures of it, but it was a nice knitted sweater. These gloves that I think are supposed to be bows maybe, but they remind me of the pie symbol. But they'll show up throughout the movie. I really thought this sweater here on the left looked pretty cool. She is wearing it over a t-shirt, it looks like, or a tank top, and it looks like it might be a like 2x1 rib, like something that I definitely would have wanted for myself in high school, like when I was her age, basically. And finally, I don't even know if this is a sweater, like is it sleeveless? She's wearing an actual hoodie over it, so I would guess that it's sort of a sleeveless mock turtleneck sweater. It looks like it could definitely be replicated using Wonder Fluff, which is the same material as the sweater that I'm currently wearing. Definitely this is something that I would not hate making, with the 2 little stripes in the front. And yeah, so Ramona is a very good example in this movie of someone who wears layering pieces and likes to have a eclectic look, right? It's sort of, Scott Pilgrim really embodies the attitude or the feeling that I get from making and wearing knits, even though I am in my 30s and therefore I have a much more organized style at this point, I guess I want to say. Like, I mean, even in this bottom picture here, you can see she's wearing like what was possibly a tank top with a long sleeve shirt over it with probably some kind of a vest over that even, and then her gloves. That's so many layering pieces. At this point in my life, I just want to be comfortable and wearing one layer if possible, but I really admire and have a really soft spot in my heart for kinds of layering pieces like this. The next one that I want to talk about is Black Panther. I'm going to move me up in the corner here. When Black Panther came out, people, including myself, lost their minds over Nakia's wrap. It is so pretty. It is such a unique construction. It isn't a cowl. It isn't a shawl. It looks kind of like an infinity scarf with a hood somehow. And the designer came out and said that basically that they knit multiple different pieces. I don't know if modularly is the right word, but it is an extremely unique construction that is not easily replicated. But several people came out with patterns, and of course it blew up all over even on Ravelry forums. And I don't know, I wasn't a Reddit user at all at the time, and so I have no idea how much it was on Reddit, but I do remember on Twitter there was a ton of people contacting the designer for some kind of a pattern, and they were basically like, sorry, I freehanded it. People recreated this with Noro yarns, and there are multiple patterns out for this shawl. I'm thinking, what's her name? There's one person who does a lot of creative knitting patterns, and she came out with her own version that it looks pretty good of this wrap. I included another image of another knitting. This is definitely a shawl, right? This is clearly a shawl that could be knit by anyone in the community. I mean, the material is pretty shiny. I don't know what that material is, but it could be a white, it could be a silver. I mean, so much of their outfits are just these gorgeous textiles, not necessarily knitting and whatnot, and you can see in the back here, maybe it's not actually knitted, it's more of a fabric, but this shawl could definitely be recreated in a knit. And just the different colors in this movie are so inspiring, and so I always think of it when I think of famous knits in movies. Black Swan. I had difficulty finding pictures for Black Swan, and I so vividly remember really, really liking the things that Natalie Portman's character wore in the movie. So ballet dancers often wear leg warmers. They often wear little shrugs, that kind of thing. And so I remember feeling like I'm always characters like Natalie Portman's character. And I mean, I get, there was a whole thing about, Natalie and Mila Kunis having to be very, very, very thin and very fit for these roles. But something about really oversized things or very cozy, scrunchily looking things inspires me. It just makes me feel so warm. And I don't think I've ever worn leg warmers. I just tend to wear really thick fleece leggings, but especially around the time that this movie came out, leg warmers were huge. And so I remembered her wearing her basically knitted looking Ugg boots with knitted leg warmers. She also wore shrugs. I did double check. I don't think those were knitted. I think those were fabric, but I know that shrugs exist. Telly Bean Knits does shrugs. Tons of other people do shrugs as well. But I always think of her leg warmers in this movie. And then she also has knitted scarf. She has a full ensemble of sort of these light pink, sort of creamy white knit pieces. The scarf, she has some gloves, a hat, and then the boots, which obviously were not handmade, but are knits and, could be made as booties. Yes, the next one, Hunger Games. So, Hunger Games is also extremely inspired by knits. Of course, the movies really want to give you that scrappy feel, right? Like that they are really having to live off of what they can create for themselves and, being really scrappy. But I remember when Hunger Games came out that this cowl, I guess I don't know if it's exactly called a cowl or if it's called a wrap, but this piece was very inspirational, and there are several patterns out that sort of mimic it. And I remember it being one of the pieces that I was so excited to purchase on Ravelry back in the day. I never did end up making it because that sort of thick, sort of heavy wrap is not actually my style, but it's so inspirational. I had to buy the pattern, like thinking like, no, I'm totally gonna make it like Katniss's outfit. It's just I want to have it. I want to make it, and I know that definitely people enjoy making these wraps based upon movies, and Katniss's wrap was very recreatable with a bunch of fun stitches. I think that there are crochet as well as knit versions of this. I also included this one on the right here. This one's really cool because it is multiple different pieces. It's it's a sweater that has a chunk of the brown up in the top for the collar. It looks like the body and the yoke is knit in the same dark brown. It's interesting that it's kind of like a long chevron, and then stitches were picked up for like the sort of waist shaping, and then at the hips. Like that seems like a super fun thing to create. And again, I'm wondering if the costume designer or if there's like a special knitwear designer or whatever, they just had a lot of fun just making it up as they go, like going from scratch, right? Like having fun with that. But I really, oh yeah, and then at the end of the sleeve is that really fun cuff. Like I was very inspired by that kind of a knit. It is definitely something that if I had seen it back in the day, that I would have, and when my style was more again about layering pieces, I would have absolutely knit that, and it's a very cool knit. Lastly, I included this sort of like shawl looking thing. Like if you don't know anything about Hunger Games, a theme of I want to say the books because I read the books more than I watched the movies, but is that the sort of elite, their way of expressing themselves is through very like garish, very out there sort of makeup, tattoos, hair dye, that everything is very colorful, that they go full theme for something. So I didn't actually see whichever Hunger Games movie was in this picture, but I thought that the sort of like rope, or like I even want to say like hemp shawl was very neat. Like it kind of looks like it's it's a 2x2 rib up at the top, and then very long stitches, and then another, maybe not even rib, just stockinette right here, and then again like little fluffy tassels at the bottom, and it looks like it's sort of like wrapped over, see, like under and over. And I thought that was really cool to go with this person's sort of theme and style. Another movie we have that has inspired several knits is Coraline. So this sweater here with the stars on it has been recreated a few times by people. Patterns do exist out there for this sweater, both for full-size humans as well as dolls. It is a very cute sweater, and they're stars I feel like are difficult in knitting, but people really wanted to make it happen. These gloves, I'm always inspired by chaotic looking fun gloves. I don't typically knit gloves with fingers, but I do know that these gloves also have patterns that exist out there on Ravelry. Let's zoom in real quick here. I mean, you can see like they look actually knitted. Are they actually knitted? They might be. I can't remember how big the models were for Coraline or for these like stop motion animation movies, but they're very easily recreated with the stripes and these colors. I love these kind of fun patterns. And lastly, look at this little skirt. Okay, skirts are big right now. I wonder if I can zoom in. Look at that. That is so fun. And it also looks like her shirt is also knitted, just like a striped, probably t-shirt or long sleeve shirt. But this skirt, I feel like would easily be, I'm wondering if it would be a lace that is knit side to side, or knit regular top down, or if it was like a side to side kind of thing. I bet it was like top down. But that is also a very fun thing, and I know that dresses and skirts are sort of becoming more popular these days, and you could definitely recreate, especially for children. I feel like children really like having skirts or dresses that are knitted to wear. Very costumey, very creative, very unique. Another movie that I have here is The Green Knight. So maybe, I don't know how many people have seen this movie, but it is a movie by A24, and it follows the story of the Green Knight. If you don't know the basic story of the Green Knight, it's a mysterious knight comes and sort of challenges this person, and they cut off the knight's head, and then the knight says, okay, now it's basically like tit for tat, so you owe me, you need to come to where I am, and I'm going to cut off your head. And so it's this journey, and this interpretation of the movie is I really liked. But the main character in the movie wears a couple of knits. Now, there are several movies, I think most famously or more well known would be, I think, the Monty Python movies, where their chainmail is actually knitted. And is that true in Game of Thrones too? But I'm not sure whether or not this is supposed to be chainmail or if this is just supposed to be warm knits. But either way, it's clear that it's a knit, and it is a nice, fun costume. Again, very inspiring to me, thinking about people who cosplay, make costumes for their children. Obviously, like a full-size man's adult outfit would take forever, but this knit is very, very cute and inspiring. And I think this looks like it's crocheted for sure, or likely. It looks pretty crocheted. So that could be fun. And then, yeah, see, it's like a tunic, and then it just has a belt around it and worn over a long sleeve. Very fun. And then this one is just a really nice sweater with little, are these considered all these little things called chevrons? Either way, this is something that would be very fun to figure out how to knit or do something similar to. His sweater also looks knitted to me, or at least multiple kinds of fabric. I actually looked really closely at her outfit too when I first was looking through the movie for knits, because I feel like there was so many in the movie, but I think I might have been misremembering. But this is fabric, but I don't think it's knitted. I mean, the little lace details around her hands and around her collar are very, very cool, but I don't think they're specifically knits. But yeah, his little tunic thing, very fun. Another one that I could not resist is Wallace and Grommet. So this is kind of cheating because it's from different movies, but come on, you gotta have Wallace and Grommet in a famous knits for movies. Obviously, Wallace's famous green vest is a knit. It's adorable. I mean, I can definitely think of people who like vests who would absolutely love this little vest. Grommet is knitting in many different scenes throughout the movies. This one's so cute because it's like a garter washcloth maybe with a bone in it, in a different color. I thought that was really funny, interesting. And also, I feel like they capture the shape of knitting pretty well, you know, the sort of movements, the mechanical movements of knitting. I do like that it has Grommet having the yarn over, under, over his fingers. And this one being like a little stripy stockinette, just freaking adorable. And then, of course, Shaun the Sheep's sweater. I am sure that something exists out there for Shaun's sweater, which looks like maybe even, I can't tell if it's cabled or if it is just a general stockinette with a couple cables and then some striping or some sort of like central detail. Like, how can you say no to Wallace and Grommet? And lastly, the big inspiration, freaking Zack and Miri. So if you've ever seen Zack and Miri, the full title of the movie is Zack and Miri Make a Porno. It is a Kevin Smith movie. It is pretty raunchy, very raunchy in a couple places, but featured throughout this movie is knits. And it is a ton of crochet. It is so many that I have 2 full slides dedicated to this movie. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about Miri's hat and scarf set in the upper left corner before I move my face back. But she's got this hat with a pom-pom and little ear covers, and then she's got a matching scarf. These colors and this style were very me circa 2012, very inspired by these big, chunky, lacy knits. If we look over here, she's got some fingerless gloves with, again, another matching scarf. I think that the hat matched the set. I can't remember, but it has the sort of like eyelash fuzzy yarn as the brim. In this one, she and Zack both have knits on. His looks fuzzier, like it might be, again, a thick fuzzy yarn. And then again, she's got this pink crocheted little hat, pink crocheted scarf with like little pops of that novelty yarn, her fingerless gloves with this big cuff. Let's see if I can move that. Look at that big cuff. Oh, it's not a fingernail, it's a mitt. She took off her mitt here. This big chunky cuff. So fun, so coordinated. It's like she's got these like wacky outfits, and yet it all seems to work. I mean, even this outfit where it's clashing so badly, I don't know, I think it's amazing. And it's like, look at this scrappy scarf, and they made it so believable. It looks just like any hand knit that anyone would do with their scraps, right? Like it's not double thick. It is what it is, just making squares with whatever you got. I find it difficult to just use random colors and random orders, and then also to like let the wrong side be showing the way that this is. And every single time I see something like this, I want to do it, even though I know that it is difficult for me to do. It's also why I can't just do random granny squares, because the color coordination is difficult for me to just be random with. Then we've got this hat and scarf set here with this sort of like maroon and pinky purple. Again, another novelty yarn for the brim and a big pom-pom. I assume just like, again, a random lace or maybe big needles, or if it was crochet, just a big hook. I can't tell exactly. Her character clearly does crochet more than knits. This like shawl sweatery thing that's got these like the crochet flowers like appliqued on. Oh yeah. My thumbnail for this is much bigger, but I don't know what this stitch is. If it's a crochet stitch, which it's like it could be crochet, it could be a certain type of knit, but it is not a feather and fan. doesn't necessarily look like elongated stitches from knitting, but it could be if it was knit, like if it was side to side here, but, or I should say side to side this way. But it is so cool. But when you zoom out and you think, like, she's wearing this maroon holy, you know, like has gigantic holes with the applied crochet on the top over just a regular hoodie and a red t-shirt. So funny. And just very cool. It's just cool they included that in the show, or in the movie. And then here we've got Zach and Miri both in, he's got a nice, what is that called? It's not cables, it's like cables. Did you get that? But a cabled scarf with, again, a big fuzzy hat that looks like it's probably crocheted, and then her light green and purple novelty yarn brim and pom-pom, and then again a matching scarf, matching mitts. Miri has got it on lock. And then lastly, someone put together a bunch of screenshots of additional knits from the film, in sort of like an Instagram sort of template. But it's that same scarf we saw earlier. He's got just what looks like a garter scarf in like big color blocks. There's another scarf here that is like a brown and a white, or a black and a white. We can see it in both of these shots. Zach also has what looks like a nice colorwork hat, again with the sort of ear covers. She's got, this could be a garter scarf that's just knit the long way, the horizontal way, so it's only like 10 rows or 15 rows or something, but they're very, very long, very classic, kind of basic project you would do with those big chunky, I'm just like picturing straight needles. And then this picture on the right shows a bunch of the knits. A different character wears what team is it? It's football, and it's like black and yellow. Where do they live? I can't remember where they live. But yeah, comes in wearing this scarf. We've also got a nice little, fun little scarf here, in a long rib, right? A bunch of pearls, and then a knit here and there. More fancy hat stuff, more scarf stuff. Whenever I watch Zack and Miri, or movies like Zack and Miri, where they really incorporate knits into the movie, but don't talk about it, like literally don't mention it whatsoever. I don't think you ever see Miri crocheting. You don't, I don't think that they address it at all. I feel like they include the knitwear in this movie to sort of establish that Zach and Miri have been friends and roommates for quite a long time. They went to high school together. They're now just regular adults together. And a lot of the premise of the movie is that they don't have a ton of money. And, you know, Zach works at a coffee shop, and I don't think Miri had a job at all when the movie started. I'm not sure, but it's like they obviously don't have a lot of disposable income to go do things, so I just imagine them just sitting at home, and she's just doing her little crafts. And, you know, definitely with these novelty yarns, they are typically more affordable than, let's say, a hand-dyed yarn, in, you know, a fingering weight or something. Get you those chunky quick knit, are able to do quick knit projects. And of course with crochet and the fun novelty yarns for brims and for pom-poms, it just feels so homey. I love any movie that incorporates knits so seamlessly and really establishes that you are a part of their sort of home hobby, and that it is just embedded throughout. And I've never seen a movie so intensely filled with different knits. I mean, they crammed more knits into this movie than they do in some like entire shows where they have knitwear. So I was very impressed with Zack and Miri. I feel like probably a lot of people would not think of this movie when they think of famous knits or when they think of movies with inspiring knits, but every time I watch this movie, which is not uncommon, I really like this movie. I'm always like, I need to be making more stuff. I love how they all wear the things. Because I personally have a problem sometimes with wearing a variety of knits. I tend to just sort of pick the same things over and over again. I don't typically make hats, but Miri's hats are so fun that it makes me want to make them. And then also just wear my knits even though they clash with everything. I'm like looking at this outfit here and she's got her purple with the maroon, and I assume this is maroon as well, over like a green, a spotty green sweater, and I don't even know what this is, a vest, a red and white vest. Again, like she's wearing like 85 layers here. She's got a long sleeve grayish striped red and white long sleeve tee with some kind of a sweater, and then her scarf. Obviously with Zach, he's just like sort of wearing his regular clothes and a scarf over it, but it's just so fun. I love eclectic outfits and eclectic knitwear. So if you can think of any famous knits that I didn't mention in movies that I haven't seen, I honestly don't actually see that many movies these days. So if there is famous knits that you want to call out and want me to either do a segment on or just to let me know so I can go look them up, because I'm always on the lookout for famous knits, let me know in the comments. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I will see you again in the next one.